Welcome to Sir Pierce's Armory, where we equip you with the tactics you need to be a successful adventurer. I'm Sir Pierce, the famed magical talking sword of the great city of Hullabaloo. This video is the next in our series on the basics of each class within the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons. And yes, one D&D is about to come out. Sorta. Regardless, most of the rules between 5th edition and 1D&D seem to be rather similar, so these basic class guides should remain pretty useful, with a couple of exceptions we'll touch on later. Today, we'll be covering Clerics, the class that finally answers the question of what would happen to that nerdy religious kid if they knew magic. Spoiler alert, kill a lot of things. This series will only be covering the core features of each class, not their subclasses. But it should be noted that Clerics are one of only 3 classes within 5th edition that gain their subclass at 1st level. So even though we won't be touching on them, your subclass choice as a Cleric is just as much a core feature as anything else the Cleric gains. In the future, if you want actual subclass breakdowns, let me know in the comments below. Finally, as always, we'll be focusing on lower levels of play, considering that's where most adventures take place. Now, let's talk about Clerics. To begin, as I will always emphasize when prudent, Clerics are full spellcasters, which means by far your most important class features are your spells. I know I spend a lot of time talking about spellcasting when it's a class feature, but that's because of just how powerful a feature it is. Though there are several other class features Clerics receive, which we will cover, recognizing the attention that must be placed on your spellcasting is critical when making your Cleric as tactically efficient as possible. And Clerics have a very unique spell list when compared to other classes. In fact, they have the second most class-exclusive spells within the game, beaten only by wizards. Here's a list of all their class-exclusive spells. It's really long! And there we go. Before we touch on a few of these spells in more detail, we'd be remiss not to mention an incredibly important aspect of your spellcasting kit, which is Clerics are prepared spellcasters. I'm not going to lie, I'm not a fan of prepared spellcasting for reasons which we might cover in a later video, but it is undoubtedly an incredibly powerful feature. This is how it works. In summation, Clerics have access to their class's entire spell list. Whenever they take a long rest, they may choose a certain amount of those spells of an appropriate level to gain the ability to cast, otherwise known as preparing them, and can then swap all of them out again if they desire on the next long rest, giving them incredible versatility. Next, we should highlight the Cleric's ritual casting feature. The Cleric has a lot of spells with the ritual tag, and many of them are great, flavorful spells. Sometimes flavorful spells that have narrow applications aren't the best choices for a spellcaster. But remember, you're a prepared spellcaster, which means try out that super weird spell that sounds kind of cool. There's no reason not to. If you don't like it, simply swap it out for another one at your next long rest. Easy breezy. Especially since with just a few picks, you can have a solid foundation of spells to cover you in a large variety of situations. And it gets even better, because you also get eventually 10 additional spells through your subclass that are always prepared for you, and don't count against the number of spells you can normally prepare. But enough about subclasses. Let's talk about some base class Cleric spells. First off, cantrips. At 1st level, we get to choose 3. And I'll be honest, we don't get a ton of amazing choices. But we do get 2, and those are Guidance, perhaps the single best non-damage dealing cantrip in the game, and Toll the Dead, a very fun, flavorful, and powerful offensive option. There are some other options that are definitely not bad choices, but if you pick both Guidance and Toll the Dead, I suggest just choosing whatever else sounds fun. Or if you'd like me to hold your hand through this, take Thaumaturgy. It's great. Next, 1st level spells. We've got several really fun and powerful options to choose from, but At the top of our list is Bless. One of the best first level spells in the game and a great addition to literally any party. At low levels, there will rarely be a better use for your concentration as a spellcaster than this spell. Next, we wouldn't be a cleric without a healing spell, and one of the best is Healing Word. I've talked about this spell before, and will definitely do so again, but with its 60-foot range and bonus action casting time, it's one of the best combat healing options available. If you'd like to throw some damage into the mix, Guiding Bolt is always fun and helps set up your allies too. Now, for a couple of second-level spell options. Enhanceability can be a ton of fun for both you and your allies. Silence can nullify almost any enemy spellcaster. But one of my personal favorite options is Spiritual Weapon. A very iconic cleric spell, and that's for a reason. A magical flying weapon you can control as a bonus action that deals force damage, and it doesn't take your concentration. Yes, please. So throw this down and then gain some easy action economy use out of your bonus action every round. We'll end with two incredible third-level spell choices. The first is the literally life-saving Revivify, which reduces dying into just taking a long nap. And second, the absolutely deadly Spirit Guardians. This is easily one of the best area of control and damage dealing spells that exists within 5th edition. Not only does it half enemy movement speed, and always deal at least some damage to any enemy that begins within or enters its area of effect, but it also doesn't affect your allies. Its only slight downside is that in order to achieve its maximum effect, you'll need to be right in the thick of the battlefield. But that problem is greatly diminished due to one of your other innate cleric class features: proficiency with medium armor and shields. This will make you the most heavily armored full caster on the battlefield, and enable you to have much less fear when wading into the pitched heat of combat. So always make sure you have the best armor possible and a shield in your hand. The next class feature we'll cover is our level 2 Channel Divinity. You begin with only one use of your Channel Divinity per short rest, but gain additional uses at 6th and 18th level. The most iconic use of this feature is to activate it with your Turn Undead option, causing undead creatures to flee away from you. And at 5th level, it can just outright destroy them. However, though this is a very iconic feature, its use is obviously limited to dealing with the undead. Your second baseline use of your Channel Divinity comes to us via the optional class features from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And I say optional, because that's technically what it is, but I highly recommend using all of the optional class features from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. They're super cool and won't break the balance of anything within your game. Many of these optional features are simply additional choices for your core abilities your class already has, which is exactly what our second Channel Divinity option is: Harness Divine Power. Harness Divine Power provides us with an incredibly reliable use for our Channel Divinity, as it simply allows us to regain one expended spell slot of a level up to half your proficiency bonus. It should be noted that all cleric subclasses gain additional unique uses for the Channel Divinity, so be sure to take them into account when rationing them out. But don't feel the need to be too stingent. As stated before, you regain them on a short rest. Thus ends our Cleric 101 video. With a strong combination of spells and high defense, a cleric feels just at home anywhere on the battlefield as they do singing hymns off-key in their monastery. Stay tuned for more class guides and other videos discussing 5th edition tactics soon. Until then, good adventuring!